Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this amazing webinar. What we're going to be talking about today, I've got Jocelyn Carter here. She's an accredited and registered naturopath, and she's going to be able to talk to you about the gut, how that relates to weight loss, and how that really affects how you feel, and more talks about talks about what she does. So then that way you get a better understanding and a more holistic approach as to how to approach your health, your weight loss, or whatever your goal is. So Jocelyn, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on board.
That's all right. It's good to be here.
So Jocelyn, give us a quick, rundown as to who you are, what you do, and we'll get started.
Okay. I'm an accredited and registered naturopath, as V said. What this means is that I have studied for, I think I did the equivalent of a 5-year degree and some postgraduate studies, and I've been accredited by through 2 organisations in Australia, Australian Traditional Medicine Society and the Naturopaths and Herbalists Association of Australia. And I'm also registered with the Australian Register of Naturopaths and Herbalists. So what all that means is that I have done the training and I've also done the continuing education. So I do 20 to 40 hours continuing education every year. So, the short story of that is I know what I'm doing, and the people that accredit me are satisfied that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So my blurb, and you've heard this a lot, V, is that I help people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So these are, it sort of says what it is. And it's usually people who have been chronically sick for a long time. And it might be that they do actually have a diagnosed illness, or it could be that they just don't feel well and they keep going to the GP and the GP says there's nothing wrong, or I can't find anything wrong.
Yes.
So they come and see me and I take a completely different approach.
Yeah.
So with your GP, you get 10 to 15 minutes to tell them your whole story. With me, you get your first appointment is 75 to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So you get to tell your whole health story.
Yeah, amazing.
So when I went out into practice full time, someone said to me, you need to specialise. I said, I don't really want to. And they said, oh, well, you've got to. And I said, okay, I'll be a gut expert. So that's, I then focused on the gut. And the reason for that was that all disease starts in the gut. So if your gut's right, quite a lot of the time, other things will be right as well.
Yeah. Okay. So just for the audience here, thank you so much. We just got to give a quick rundown as to what it is about the gut that is so important in health. So just so the audience knows what this webinar is all about, give us a quick spiel as to how you go, and then we can start to go into detail.
Okay, so what I'm going to try to do in this webinar is compact a 90-minute workshop I do into, 15 minutes. So, strap yourself in, folks. This is going to be a bit of a ride. One of the misconceptions about the gut is that people think it's only their large bowel, which is kind of the last third maybe of the gut. But your gut actually goes from your mouth to your anus, so your lip to your arsehole. So everything from your oral health to what comes out the other end is important to your gut health.
Yeah.
So, going back over 2,000 years, Hippocrates, who's the father of medicine, he said that all disease started in the gut. So I learned that when I started studying naturopathy back in 2000, I think it was.
Yeah.
And for the first sort of 15 years of my sort of naturopathy studying career, there was a lot of talk from the medical community saying that in reality, that's rubbish. Disease doesn't start in the gut.
Yeah.
Over the last probably 5 or 6 years, there has been an explosion in research in gut health, and now researchers and the science community is saying a lot of disease starts in the gut. So sometimes I think I can barely turn around and there's another bit of research saying, this disease starts in the gut. So you talked about weight loss, V. There is some evidence to indicate that the health of your gut will influence your weight. There's a lot of talk about the gut-brain connection, so that's things like, depression and anxiety is linked to the gut.
Yeah.
There's the obvious thing like irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's disease or, gut diseases themselves, they're linked to the gut. Your immune system is actually linked to the gut. You've got more immune cells in your gut than you have anywhere else in your body.
Wow.
So when you put, yeah, you have, yeah. So when you put all that together, your gut is really important.
Yeah.
It's, think about it. What does your gut do? Grossly, you eat food, your gut breaks it down, absorbs it, and expels the waste. If there is a fault anywhere along that line, and think of it as a production line from your mouth to your anus, if there is a fault there, if something is not working properly, you will not break down your food correctly, you may not absorb it correctly, and the waste may not be the right sort of waste.
Yeah.
So, if you can't break down your food and absorb it, how are you going to get the nutrients you need to do the things you want to do?
Yeah. So you're saying if you take care of your gut, if you take really good care of your gut, you're going to be able to, I guess, be lower risk of other diseases, weight loss potentially, have a better immune system, so maybe better energy, better sleep. Was there any other benefits that you would get if you actually took care of your gut properly?
Oh, geez, better mental health, I think, is a big one.
Yeah.
Greater resilience, less likely to have reactions to foods. There's another explosion of people being reactive to foods.
Yeah.
If your gut is in really good health, then you're less likely to be reactive to different foods.
Yeah.
To me, the list is endless, and the research is continuing to support this concept. So, to me, the foundation for your health is having a healthy gut.
Yeah.
And that's physical health and mental health.
Yeah.
So think of it like that.
Yeah. Okay. So foundation, gut. Gut is the center. Gut is like the bee's knees, especially when it comes to what you do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So, now that we have an understanding as to how important the gut is, I know that there's been a lot of talk about detoxing, microbiomes. I'm not an expert myself, but Jocelyn, what is the fuss about, with microbiomes? And
okay, the microbiome, 7 years ago, I'm saying 7, it could have been 5, but, the last sort of 7 years, the idea that we had a microbiome, the medical profession and the science world would say, well, yeah, but no, it's not really important. And now the work on the bugs we carry around in our body, and we're talking about the gut here specifically, is showing that specific microbes perform specific tasks.
Yeah.
So, don't ask me the name because I'd have to look them up, but there's a specific microbe in your gut that produces the mucin layer, which is a barrier in your gut, which is very soothing. And so, if something comes through and irritates your gut, these microbes produce like a soothing, think of it as a soothing ointment or balm for your gut.
Yeah.
So people who have, leaky gut or some sort of inflammatory bowel disease, they're often very low in these beneficial microbes.
Yeah. Okay.
So your microbiome, it's not it's a really simple topic because it's very complicated.
Yeah.
We have beneficial microbes, we have less beneficial microbes, and we have microbes that make us sick.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, correct me if I'm wrong here. So, just in summary, microbiomes are in your gut, and
Yes.
they're kind of like that, I guess, good bacteria.
Yes, they are.
That help aid the process of what the gut does. For those of you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
So one of the other things the microbiome does, so your gut bugs, they tell your body what's going on. So you have these dendritic cells, which is a form of brain cell, that are they're located adjacent to the gut wall, and they stick up a little periscope, like a little sensor, between the cells of your gut into your actual what's happening inside inside it.
Yeah.
So this is the tube. So they stick up a sensor, have a bit of a look around, and the microbes communicate with that sensor and say to it, this is what's happening in this gut now.
Yeah. Wow.
And that message goes back to your brain.
Yeah. Wow. Really? So
it kind of blows your mind, doesn't it, when you think of that?
That's crazy.
I know.
It's like, hey, everything that my body is telling me is actually in my gut. Like, listen to my body kind of thing. Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, you know how we have gut feelings?
Yes.
We have gut feelings. Yeah.
So listen to our gut, in other words.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Listen to our gut. There we go. So just like listening to our gut, super important. So I guess I know that there's a little bit of talk about detoxing and probiotics. There's so many different probiotics out there. So would you say if we had inflammatory or any kind of bloating, we would just go get a probiotic and it'll be all good? Or how do we actually fix our gut if we have all these different things?
Okay, so I'll touch on detoxing very briefly because it's a topic all by itself.
Yeah.
So basically, we've got 5 organs of elimination: liver, gut, kidneys, lungs, and skin. So your liver is the main organ that processes your toxins, and when it processes those toxins, it expels them into your bile. The bile is then passed into your gut as part of your digestive process, and you poo those toxins out.
Yeah.
So your gut has a really important role in detoxing. If you're not pooing every day, or you're not eliminating all of the waste, then your body will reabsorb those toxins.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like a cycle. It goes round and round and round. So before you do a detox program, you have to make sure you're pooing every day.
Yeah.
So that's like a simple answer. Now, probiotics, a lot of the work researchers are doing is on that different probiotics do different things. So if someone has irritable bowel, then they need a different sort of probiotic than someone who has anxiety or depression. So, the supplement companies that I use, they're constantly doing research into specific strains of probiotics that do specific things.
Yeah.
So I know that there is a probiotic if someone comes to me with irritable bowel. I have a long conversation with them about it, and there is a specific probiotic that is, I think, 3 different ones that is good for IBS.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing with probiotics is that when I sell a probiotic to a patient, I know that probiotic was manufactured under TGA guidelines. I know that when it left the factory, it was kept chilled. It's kept chilled in the warehouse, and it's sent to me usually in a little fridgy bag, a little tiny esky type thing with its own little ice brick, so it stays chilled, and it goes from there into the fridge. So I know that chain of looking after the probiotic, but when I sell it to someone, it is what it says it is.
Okay.
When you're buying a probiotic over the counter, there's no guarantee. Right. I say to people, if you're going to buy a probiotic over the counter, and there are some good ones out there you can buy, ask them about, is it kept in the fridge? Does it arrive at your site cold? And how long before you unpack it?
Yeah, wow.
So there's probiotics I recommend that people can buy over the counter, but I always say to them, you need to ask the pharmacy, the health food shop, those sort of questions. If it's sat in a loading dock for 2 hours in the full sun, and when they unwrap it, it feels warm, how many of the microbes are actually left?
Yeah. So do they die off when you don't put them in a good condition?
If you don't look after them properly, they will die off. There are some temperature stable ones, and again, I buy those ones from companies that I know that they've actually tested them and they know they are stable in, not 35 degrees, but 20 degrees sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that they'll be fine for people to take. Yeah. But they live inside us, and our body temperature is around 37 degrees. So that's what they like.
Yeah. Okay.
They like to be that. They don't like to be too hot. They don't like to be too cold. They like the right temperature. So, be very careful about where you're buying them from and ask quite pointed questions about it.
So yeah, so this just pretty much emphasizes how important it is to go see someone specialized in, the right medication, the right herbs, the right nutrition guidelines to be able to actually get your gut in a good, healthy condition. Not just buy it off the shelf. That'll be fine. I'll be fine with this, rather than the generic.
Yeah. What I do is personalized medicine.
Yeah.
So sometimes people come and see me and they've got, a bag of anything from 2 to 10 different things they've bought over the counter.
Mm.
And a lot of the time, those things aren't doing them any good. They might not be doing them any harm, but they're not actually the right product for them.
Yeah.
So they could have spent anywhere from $20 to $200 on things that aren't actually useful for them.
Yeah.
So that's where the qualification thing comes into it, because if the person, in your health food shop or your pharmacy isn't trained in herbal medicine or nutrition, they don't have the deep understanding that someone like me has. And they may sell you something that sounds good and it could be okay, but it might not be for you.
Yeah.
And occasionally something that someone has bought is unsafe for them.
Yeah.
So I'll say, don't take that anymore, because that is actually making you sicker.
Yeah. And there's it's really difficult because there's so much stuff out there. But I guess, Jocelyn, how does all this relate to weight loss? How does taking care of your gut, all these microbiomes, relate back to weight loss? And how can the audience right now, what are some of the tips that you could probably recommend for them to be able to get out of this webinar to then start to apply, or even start to see you, to start getting better health and
okay, so they've identified specific microbes that are associated with weight gain. And the way they did that, they sort of took people who had trouble with their weight, they were overweight, they had trouble losing weight, and they looked at people that didn't have that issue, and they found out there was a big difference in their microbiome.
Yeah.
So there are specific microbes.
People who lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, versus people who don't. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can change your microbiome, and you can do that. So here's some tips. So you want to look after your gut. So this is general stuff, whether you're trying to lose weight or you just generally want to look after your gut. So think of your gut as a garden, and you need to give the garden what it needs so the microbes grow. So this is the more beneficial microbes. Mm-hmm. So I talk about having 6 to 9 cups of vegetables and fruits every day. Yeah. If you're not doing that now, don't start tomorrow on a huge amount of fruit and veg, because it'll, your microbe will eat it up and go, woohoo, I love this. But your gut will go, oh my God, what have you done? Mm. So sometimes, people, they look at what they're eating, and I call them the toasted sandwich and, peas and carrot people. And they it's kind of like a conversion, a bit of a born again thing. So they go off to the supermarket, they buy loads of fruit and veg, they start eating huge amounts straight away. Yeah. And they get gut symptoms, and then they say, well, I must be allergic. Well, they're not allergic, they've just overdone it. Yeah. So always start slowly. When you're increasing vegetables and fruits, start slowly and eat a variety. Yeah. Include things like legumes. Yeah. So the pulses, and also nuts and seeds. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if you're eating that amount of vegetables and fruit, you're going to be getting the fibre you need to feed your microbiome. Yeah. All right. So back when I was studying, I think they said you need 25 to 30 grams of fibre a day. The functional nutritionists that I follow, they talk about 60 to 80 grams of fibre a day. So you need a lot of fibre. That's heaps. Yeah. But if you're having your 6 to 9 cups of vegetables and fruit, you're getting close to that amount of fibre.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So fibre is really important. Now, the other thing is we talked about, you know, your gut is damaged, so IBS is kind of the most common one I see. So your gut is a barrier to the outside world,
Yep.
and you've got to keep that barrier strong.
Okay.
So the integrity of the barrier is really important. So there's certain trigger foods. So for people who come to me with gut problems, I talk about avoiding things like wheat, gluten, dairy, nightshades, soy, processed foods, peanuts. Ideally, if you do that for a minimum, absolute minimum of 6 weeks, and then you introduce something, and you'll see whether you get different symptoms, whether they're an irritant to you.
Yeah.
Also, really simple things you can do to heal your gut is like aloe vera juice. So you can buy a 95% pure aloe vera juice.
Yeah.
And you have 20 to 50 mils a day. Yeah. And the other one is slippery elm powder. So these are things you can buy. Slippery elm. Yeah. So it's a bug.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
These are things that you can do.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Now the other thing is to get a good probiotic.
Yep.
And if you don't know what you need, just get a broad spectrum one. Or come and see a naturopath or a herbalist, and they will talk to you about your health and which one you need.
Yeah.
And the last one I tell people to do, because remember I said your gut started at your mouth.
Yeah.
You need to look after your oral health.
Oh, like teeth.
And
clean it,
yeah, brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Don't use mouthwash. So you know those, I don't want to name brands, but you know the antiseptic mouthwashes?
Yeah, the one that
actually, they kill the microbiome in your mouth. So you have got beneficial bugs in your mouth that do important things like produce nitrous oxide that helps your heart.
Yeah. And we're killing
them. So you're killing them, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I tell everyone, stop if you, and I use mouthwash for years. Yeah. And it took about 3 seminar type things for me to finally join the dots, and I stopped using mouthwash.
Oh, wow. No mouthwash. There we go. That's the new win. There was just so many different learnings. So, like, in summary, I suppose, what I've gained from there's different microbiomes depending on the people who are super fit, super healthy versus those who struggle to lose weight, and it's important to take care of your gut health by using the tips, increasing your vegetables. Can you just give us a quick summary, just again, if those of you who missed it, quick summary, vegetables, what else was there, Jocelyn? There's nuts and seeds.
Nuts and seeds, legumes. They're the big ones in your diet. Minimise the amount of animal protein you're eating. So looking at 85 grams of raw weight is ideal.
Yep.
And also the research has shown that if you eat a small amount of protein 3 times a day rather than having a big hit of protein at night, which is kind of the classic having dinner thing.
Yeah.
So that'll give you your fibre.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you've got some gut irritation, do some repair. Yeah.
Awesome. And obviously, don't use mouthwash.
No!
Don't use mouthwash. There we go. Perfect. So look, that was like an amazing 90-minute quick summary brought down into like 20 minutes as to understand how important the gut is to be able to get healthier. So thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you so much. That was so much value. So I guess from the audience perspective, how do people get in contact with you? Go from there.
Okay, so you can look at my website, www.moonhawk.com.au. There's a bit on gut there, I'm sure. If there's not, there's lots of other good information. And it has my 2 clinics listed. So I'm located in Entire Physio in Queanbeyan, 02 6299 5183. And I'm also at Capital Complementary Therapy Centre in Braddon.
Yep.
And their phone number is 02 6174 1834. So I'm basically in the Canberra region.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, I also do Skype appointments if people can't come and see me. So my most distant patient is in Buenos Aires.
Yeah. Perfect.
So I'd say. So I'm not limited by geography, but 99% of patients come and see me in my clinic.
Okay. Okay, perfect, perfect. So get in contact with you. I'll also put the link in just the bottom comment so that way people can just click into it straight away and they can get in
Yep.
contact with you, any questions or anything like that. But thank you so much, Jocelyn. I really appreciate you coming on board and sharing with us your knowledge. There's just so much out there about the gut, and thank you for cutting down all that stuff and really narrowing it down to something super easy for them to take away. So thank you.
Yeah. If you do only do one thing, eat more vegetables and fruit.
Done. Too easy. Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was great talking to you, V.
Yeah, same to
Yeah.
you. Same to you.